Okay. Ano to, no? Yung continuing, continuing pattern. And then Rehoboam slept, and then si Abiham ang nagpatuloy ng kanyang stead. So, okay, the purpose of First and Second Kings. The Book of Kings aims to carry on the history of the theocracy. Theocracy is a form of government kung saan ang kanilang pinapaniwalaang namumuno ay si Yahweh. But again, understatement 'yon kasi ang talagang naghahari naman yung yung uh, king kings na naka-install. The kings of Judah are judged in accordance with the promise given to David in 2 Samuel, yung Davidic covenant na napag-aralan natin last meeting. Whereas those of the northern kingdom, all of whom are condemned, kaya pa ulit-ulit na they did what was evil in the sight of God, no? They have continued in the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Pag-aralan din natin yung mamaya. Bigyan muna natin ng pansin itong Deuteronomy 28. Dito sa beginning part, 1 hanggang verse 11, which is nagpapatuloy siya hanggang verse 14. Notice, siguro, let's look at the highlight, no? If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all His commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations. And another, it's sa verse 3, you will be blessed. Another sa verse 6, you will be blessed, no? And then sa verse 9, the Lord will establish you as His holy people. So, very positive yung portrayal dito sa Deuteronomy 28 hanggang sa dito lang sa verse 11, pero nagpatuloy yun sa verse 14. Now, if you look sa beginning ng verse 15, sinabi dito, however, nagkaroon ng sharp transition. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all His commands, which is a big contrast, doon sa nakita natin a while ago, dito sa verse 1, about obedience, yung isa naman disobedience, no? Ay, nakita niyo yung verse 16, na ay, you will be cursed in the city. Siguro kompletuin ko yung 15, no? All these curses will come on you and overtake you. So you will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Ngayon yung verse 17, your basket is in sharp contrast do sa while ago. Dito po na sinabi sa verse 5, your basket and your kneading trough will be blessed, no? Now, biglang naging nung negatibo, no? Will be cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed, the crops of your land. And then verse 19, you will be cursed when you come in, cursed when you go out. Tumalon tayo sa verse 25, mahabang section ito ng puro cursing, no? The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies, no? Verse 36, no? We are now jumping, no? The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you to a nation unknown to you or your ancestors. Notice yung sinabing and the king you set up, no? Over you, which goes back dun sa yung prophecy ni Samuel tungkol do sa pagtatalaga kay Haring Saul, no? The king you set over you, no? To you a nation unknown to you, and you will worship other gods of wood and stone. Again, talo na naman tayo. 28:49, the Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the ends of the earth, like an eagle swooping down. And again, there are theories na nagsasabi itong eagle na to. Sino ba to? Ito ba yung Rome, no? Kasi sa Roman Empire, ang symbol nila yung agila, no? But regardless kung yung Roman Empire nga ba ito, which means is a strong, strong nation, no? Nevertheless. Verse 50, a fierce looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young. They will devour the young of your livestock, the crops of your land, until you are destroyed. They will leave you no grain. So pagkatalo talaga, 52, they will lay siege to all the cities throughout your land until the high fortified walls in which you trust will fall down. They will besiege all the cities throughout the land the Lord your God is giving you. 64. Ang bilis na kasi ang haba ng ng chapter 28. Then the Lord will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the other, earth to the other. There you will worship other gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. Among those nations you will find no repose, no resting place for the sole of your foot. There the Lord will give you an anxious mind, eyes weary with longing, and a despairing heart. You will live in constant suspense, filled with the dread both night and day, never sure of your life. Bakit ba natin itong binabasa? No? Kasi ang promise ni Yahweh kay Abraham, again kay Abraham, ay magandang lupa, kapayapaan at ano no at tahimik na pamumuhay. At sila ay pinalaya ni Yahweh sa kapanahonan ni Moses, no? Nung lumabas sila sa Egypt. Pero dito sa Deuteronomy 28, especially the last section, nakita natin na ito ay patungkol sa pagbawi, no? Lahat ng mga blessings na binigay ni Yahweh sa Israel, babawiin niya dahil sa disobedience. Ayon doon sa pag uh, hindi pagsunod or hindi pagiging tapat, no, ng mga Israelita sa kanyang mga ibinigay sa kanya. Lahat ng yun ay babawiin. Kasama na rito kaharian, lupa, at sila po ay matatalo ng ibang mga bansa. Now, allow me to talk about Deuteronomistic history. This is a good preparation para maintindihan natin ang una at ang ikalawang hari. So the architect of the modern theory which holds to greater unity, pangalan niya ay ang Old Testament scholar na si Martin Knott, who built upon older theories. He noted similarities in language, style, and content among these biblical books. Dito sa kanyang aklat, no, na German na ang hirap i-pronounce, no, and suggested that an originally unified work was composed during the exilic period by an individual. Again, ano raw yon? Yung mga books na ito, or sabihin natin Deuteronomistic history, beginning with aklat ni Joshua, no? Bakit si Joshua? Kasi si time ni Joshua ang time kung saan na-fulfill yung sinabi ni Yahweh kay Abraham, no? Yung pangako ng lupa, ng kasaganaan, na sila ay magiging isang malaking bansa, natupad yun sa time ni Joshua. Pero pagdating sa time ng Second Kings, nabaliktad lahat ng yon. At the center of the story is the kingship ni David, no? Si David ang naging hari. No, not although siyempre si Saul, Haring Saul na pag-aralan natin. He was the first king, pero yung fullness ng fulfillment ng karyan na pinangako ni Yahweh kay Abraham ay natupad kay David. Okay? And then nangyari nga yung kay Solomon, nagpatuloy ito. However, pagdating sa dulo ng Second Kings, lahat ng ipinangako na to was taken away. And they were defeated by their enemies and they were thrown in the different portions of the world during the ancient Near Eastern time, no? Kaya very important, no? Yung pagbasa ng Deuteronomy para iintindihin natin yung mga aklat ng First at saka Second Kings. So, of course, First at saka Second Samuel is already placed in the picture, no? Now we go over to King Solomon kasi sa ating previous discussions, we talk about the kingship of Saul and then the kingship of David. Now with Solomon. So si Solomon or yung ascent to the throne, kung paano siya naging hari, no? Si Solomon ay ikawalong anak ni Haring David, no? Anim sa mga anak ni David na lalaki ay mula sa iba-ibang nanay. No? 6 sons, all of different mothers, no? No? At maging si Solomon ay iba rin yung nanay, no? They were born at Hebron, no? Yung mga naunang anak na lalaki ni Solomon. When he had established his capital in Jerusalem, David fell in love with a married woman, si Bathsheba, tapos pinapatay niya si Uriah at ayun nga, ano nangyari po, yung unang anak nila David at saka ni Bathsheba ay namatay bilang parusa doon sa adultery na ginawa ni Haring Solomon, no? And their second child, ito na po yung si Solomon. And Solomon was thus David's son by his favorite wife na si Bathsheba. That is presumably why David chose Solomon to succeed him. Rather than yung mga kasi si Solomon was born in Jerusalem while yung mga naunang anak niya, anak na lalaki ni David ay sa Hebron isinilang. Now, according to 2 Samuel 12, Solomon was given two names. The first, Solomon, by which is invariably known in the Bible, was given to him by his parents. At ang Solomon ay galing sa root word na shalom, no? Na may kinalaman sa salitang kapayapaan, but it may be connected with the name of the capital. Now, another name for Solomon was Jedidiah, no? At itong Jedidiah ay ang kahulugan nito ay love ni Yahweh, no? Was given to him by the prophet Nathan, no? Ang naging cost ng pag pagiging hari ni Solomon ay doon sa pagmamadali ng isa sa mga anak ni Solomon, ay no sorry, isa sa mga anak ng David na si Adonijah, no? Na noong time na yun siya yung pinakapanganay na anak na lalaki ni Haring David. At dahil nga na mga namatay na yung una, 'di ba? Sila Amnon, namatay din sa Absalom, ganyan, no? No, si Adonijah ay kinilala niya yung sarili niya bilang hari, no? Kaya naman na it became clear that David was dying. Si Adonijah, sabi niya, matanda na naman at namamatay na yung tatay ko. Ako na yung magiging hari, at nakuha ni Adonijah yung suporta ng mga dating mga tauhan ni Haring David, si Joab na kanyang general at si Abiatar na naging pare para kay Haring David, no? However, nung sa nalaman ito ni Bathsheba at saka ni Solomon, lumapit ngayon si Bathsheba kay Haring David. At kaya naman si Nathan na propeta na kakampi rin ni David ni Bathsheba, however, ay ay inilapit or let's just say pinaalala sa hari na si Solomon ang magpapatuloy ng kanyang kaharian. Kaya naman bilang pabor dito, ibinigay ni David ang kanyang suporta kay Haring Solomon. At si Zadok na pari ang siyang pahid ng langis, no? At kumilala kay Solomon bilang hari, no? At kasama na rin doon yung presensya ni Propeta Nathan, no? Who acclaim him David's successor. At dahil sa ginawa nila to, pinanginaan si Adonijah at yung sabihin natin, ang suporta ng tao ay napunta kay Solomon. Ito yung mga naging contribution ni Haring Solomon, para makita natin how well managed, no? Well managed yung governmental structure nito ni Haring Solomon. So to exert his control, Solomon engaged in a provincial reorganization. At ano po 'yon? So dinivide niya ang kanyang kaharian not in tribes but rather in provincials, no? He reorganized the nation into 12 administrative districts and placed one officer in charge of each, no? So meron siyang appointee, in-appoint, no, na parang supervisor sa bawat districts na ito, no? It meant that personal loyalty to the Jerusalem court would become more likely than to doon sa kanilang, imbis na ang loyalty nila doon sa kanilang tribal organization, di ba there were 12 tribes, ang naging kanilang loyalty dahil nga dito sa supervisor na inilagay ni Haring Solomon, no? Ang naging loyalty nila sa Judah. Again, di ba? This is a ang tawag mo rito, kingly structure, di ba? Solomon's reorganization affected manpower as well as provisions. At dahil dito, inutos ni Haring Solomon na yung lahat ng tao mula sa different places within the Israelite kingdom, no, na sila ay for lack of a better term, alipinin niya para doon sa pagpapagawa ng sa pagpapaganda ng kanyang kaharian, kasama na rito yung mga building na kanyang pinatayo. Military organization, ganun din, no? Solomon's main attempts at military intensification were the reinforcement of strategic cities in this kingdom. Sa time ni Solomon ay lumakas ang kanyang military might, no? Yung sa last part, moreover, he reorganized that now was the time to appropriate the chariot for use in Israel's military. So, he acquired 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen. So, ganun kalakas ang kaharian ni Solomon. Maging sa foreign affairs, siguro i-minimize ko na lang discussion. Very important ito kasi dito siguro nagtataka tayo bakit dumami ang asawa ni no? Bakit ganun karami ang asawa ni Solomon? Kasi sa unang panahon, kung nakita nila na mas malakas ang kaharian, kagaya na nangyari sa Israel during the time of Solomon, ay in matters of what we call alliances, no? Ay merong silang asawa, merong anak na babae ng ibang kaharian na pinapadala para to ensure na meron silang alliance with no. Of course by this time si King Solomon. Kaya ganoon na lang biglang dumami ang niya, no, yung kanyang mga asawa, no. At kasama na rito yung partnerships niya with the King of Tyre at with the Phoenician king na si Hiram the First. At important dito kasi yung mga kahoy, yung cedar from Lebanon ay galing sa with regards to sa support ni or the partnership with King Hiram. Commerce in the industry, no, sa kayaman yung sa katalinuhan na meron si Solomon ay napaganda niya ang aspeto ng komersyo at saka industriya sa kaharian ni yung nga sa time ng kanyang pagpamumuno. And then yung building program, sabi ng ng mga archaeologists ay naging talaga, naging malawak ang building projects na sa time ni Solomon. Gateway systems at mga nagpatayo si Solomon ng kanyang palasyo. Hindi lang siguro isang palasyo kung hindi ilan at merong armory. Pero ang pinakamahalaga sa kanyang pinatayo ay ang Temple of Solomon. So ganito yung reconstruction ito, no? Na ganito probably yung itsura, yung ganun kaganda ang temple ni Solomon during his time. At tingnan niyo yung borders, no? Ang laki ng court, no? So this is the marahil the court of men, nakikita natin at the center at papunta doon sa Holy of Holies, doon sa bandang taas. Now yung sa labas, ito yung tinatawag yung malaking bakuran na yan is the court of the Gentiles, no? So the temple was of great significance, no, sa ayon nga doon sa Deuteronomy, no, sa 1 Kings 5 to account of its construction and dedication. Sa Chronicles makakakita rin tayo doon ng another account of the dedication of the temple, no. Unfortunately, sabi hindi raw na mahukay na ng archaeologists kasi ito naroroon na sa gitna nito yung Dome of the Rock, which is yung mosque ng mga Muslim, no. So nakatayo doon, kaya ang paniniwala nasa ilalim dito yung yung Solomon's Temple, no. At sabi rin ng no, yung the best, no, the best ng mga architect, carpenters and masons ang mga nagsigawa nitong temple na to, at coming from no, different, even pagans, no, pagan, ang tawag mo dito, yung mga mahuhusay with regards dun sa building construction. Remember, this is the first temple. Kaya yung mga designers na mga temples galing sa ibang bansa ay tumulong, no, para sa pagpapagawa nito. Obviously, the construction of the temple and its furnishings, yung design niya ay traditional, hindi traditional Israelite, kung hindi yung kapid, no? Kapid marahil, no? doon sa mga ano no, yung mga temples outside of the city of Jerusalem. Ano ang masasabi natin contribution ni Haring Solomon, no? During Solomon's rule, Israel pursued friendly contacts with other cultures. So, doon nabuksan yung trade and anong tawag mo dito? Um, pakikipag or we could say alliances, no? ng Israel with other nations. Of course, when we say nations, mga pagans ito. Ancient Hebrew tradition has generously credited Solomon with great learning and insight. Si Solomon was credited with 3 canonical books, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, at saka Songs of Songs. It was under David that Israel took a prominent place in the contemporary world. Pero it was under Solomon that she continued to show obvious signs of strength. This king, referring to Solomon, engaged in a host of enterprises that were possible. And again, naging possible ito because generally it was a time of peace for Israel. Although we should consider na kahit ang Edom at saka ang Damascus also rebelled against Solomon. So not completely na it was peaceful for Israel during the time of Solomon. And Solomon inherited much from Saul and David. Ibig sabihin, he was already prepared, no, to really rule, no. Unlike yung sa mga experiences ni Saul na punong-puno ng digmaan against the Philistines, no. And but as his building program progressed, the Israelite populace, now dahil nga masyadong naging fond of building projects itong si Solomon, definitely dahil sa pag-uutos niya sa mga gumagawa nito, hindi natuwa yung mga tao. Okay? Hindi natuwa yung mga tao sa mga building projects na to na very authoritative yung dating. On the positive side, the text commends him for his loyalty to the Lord. When given his choice of a gift from God, ano yung pinili niya? Wisdom, di ba? God commended him for his decision and promised him wealth and honor. Solomon's reputation for wisdom spread and the nation prospered. The Lord fulfilled his promise by making Solomon famous and wealthy. Solomon built the temple to honor the Lord. Nandiyan na po yung mga scripture verses, no? He interceded on behalf of the nation, asking God to forgive their sins in the future. But again, despite of these positive features, no, meron ding mga negative do sa pamumuno ni Haring Solomon. He married an Egyptian princess in order to seal an alliance with yung Pharaoh. Later, in blatant violation of God's law, he added hundreds of wives to his harem, worship other gods, no? He accumulated horses and chariots na kung saan ito ay pinasusuklaman ni Yahweh sa Deuteronomy. He offered sacrifice to the higher places at saka yun nga, in response to Solomon's idolatry, ang nagpatuloy ng kanyang kaharian si Rehoboam ay nahati ang kanyang kingdom. One beneficiary of this political asylum was Jeroboam. Isa sa mga tauhan ni Solomon ay nagrebelde kay Solomon, no? At siya ay tumakas. He is from the tribe of Ephraim, who is from the house of Joseph, and then later on pinayagan siyang bumalik. Now, yun yung preparation. Remember, si Jeroboam, son of Nebat, is from the house of Joseph, which is para sa understanding ng 10 tribes, he is royalty. Diba? Royalty siya kasi he descended from Joseph, who was during the time ni Jacob ang siyang nagpakain sa Egypt, sa mga Egyptians at saka dun sa family of Israel.